Hello, everyone. One of the things I wanted to talk about today was coaching philosophy. The approach that you take to coaching is, when we think about coaching, right, we always think of sports, we always think of life coaches and things like that. But it is just a leadership role, right? It's a leadership position. It is being a business manager, it's being a manager of a store, it's being a manager of a team, it's being a manager of a group. It can be anything of that sort, right? Coaching is what it is. It's leadership. It happens to typically be sport. Right. So when we talk about coaching philosophy, what are the approaches that you take, and what are the types of styles that you have in coaching? Are you the strict? Are you the inspirational? Are you the structured? Are you the I'm going to check on everybody to make sure they're doing work, and I'm going to try to catch them doing wrong? Right. We see a lot of that, right? So one of the things that we really want to focus on are a couple of things that I found here uh, in some research. So let's get started on. One thing I came across was this list of 8 core principles for developing your own coaching philosophy. This is out of the Coaching Track and Field Successfully textbook, essentially. It is a great book. This is probably a newer volume than one that I've read before, or edition than I've read before, because I've done this for a long time. But when I came across this, because I decided to do my video on coaching philosophy, this just popped up. It was right in front of me. One of the things that I do want to talk about, though, as far as on the sports psychology, the personality trait side of coaching, the idea of being yourself. It is very difficult to be anything but yourself. You have to be able to approach, because then if you're not being yourself while you're coaching, then you're filtering yourself, and you're filtering your ability in your approach, right? You have to be able to trim the fat, so to speak, with your approach and some of the aspects, right? So if you're a cusser, obviously you're not going to be cussing in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds, right? But so that's the fat that you got to trim sometimes, right? Those are some of the give and takes that you have to do when it comes to coaching. You got to know your environment, you got to know who you're with, you got to know who your audience is, all that kind of stuff, right? All these are great, honestly, great core principles. The two that I really want to focus on, though, are the nurturing relationships with the athletes and managing their stress. Right? Because one of the things I do want to talk about is the idea that by the time that kids are 14, 70% drop out of sports, youth sports. And so we have to think, why is that? Well, that's about high school age. Kids are getting into high school. Part of that is, there's a huge amount of middle school teams out there. So, there's a wide variety of opportunity for kids to, play all types of sports when they're in middle school, because there's, 5, 6 middle schools for every high school kind of thing. Right? And so, right, and then it gets dwindled down. They all get packed into a giant high school, and all of a sudden there's only one freshman team, only one JV team, there's only one varsity team. So it goes from, possibly being like 80 to 90 spots possible for kids to play on to 15, right? So it gets dwindled down. So that's part of the kids dropping out by the time they're 14. I truly believe that. But part of it really is the idea that sports gets very, very competitive by the time they get to the level. And those people who believe, well, they need to be competitive and that's what they need to do, and blah, blah, blah. But that's great for the kids who are competitive, right? But you have to remember, if 70% of kids are dropping out, I mean, 70% of kids are possibly not being active. Think about what the percentages of kids going to the college level in college sports. Of those, how many of those are becoming professionals? How many are making a substantial amount in the pros in order to make it their life, right? And making it an actual financial thing where they can actually make money and live their life from that sport, right? And that's where we gotta understand that if we have that mentality that I'm going to be a coach to get you to the NBA or get you to the NFL or put you on the path to get, right? And it doesn't happen. That probably goes for at least 97 to 98% of all kids that ever played sports. So by having that approach, we're saying that 98% of you, we're not going to worry about you. We're going to worry about this 2% that might make it. And 2% is really high to me, to be honest. Right. So what do we do? What do we do in order to get kids more involved, more active? Right. Well, it's our coaching philosophy has that approach, that idea behind it. If your approach is just to get kids into professional leagues, then you need to be in a field where you're only recruiting those type of kids. Because the kids who want to have fun and want to play sports and want to be competitive, but don't have the life goals of NBA or NFL, we're just leaving those kids out. And that's where we have a big problem socially, especially in our country. Right? So one of the things that we have to do is in our approach, in our philosophy, we have to think of what is our mindset for today's practice, for this week's practice, for this year's season. If we show up every day with the idea that, I need to work hard because I need to make it to the NBA one day, they can work hard, and 99% chance, even if it's the best on your team. But if we show up every day to practice with the mindset that we need to just get better, however good you are right now, at the end of practice, just improve. You will not fail. The kids will not fail. If improvement is all you need, you can show up to practice, make mistakes all practice long, as long as you're giving your best effort and understand that those mistakes are going to be part of your growth, right? So having a growth mindset, which Carol Dweck is one of the pioneer, like the person. You look up her research and you'll find a bunch of great stuff. Then she has that book, mindset, right? That talks about the two types of mindset. The idea of, accomplishing the goal or growing to get better. If we have the mindset of growing to get better, you do not fail, right? And the mindset of accomplishing a task, if the task isn't accomplished, it's more likely that the person will quit after they can do it. And the great thing about a growth mindset is the idea that sometimes they don't realize, the kids especially, that they set their goals too low. Right? The idea of I want to be in the NBA one day or something like that, but maybe they're meant for something bigger than just the NBA. Maybe they're meant for something bigger, and that's going to be a bigger percentage than just the 2% or 1%. Because the world is bigger than just the NBA and professional sports, right? We still, no matter how great everyone is, not everyone can be in professional. How do we take that mindset and get better? A growth mindset would tell you to show up every day, work hard every day, and get better every day. Why did Michael Jordan so far? Why did Kobe hit 1,000 shots all the time, every day, to get better? When you have a tremendous amount of talent and a growth mindset, you're gonna be at that level, right? For the kids that have that level of talent, which are only two people in the world ever, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, right? Because I listed their names specifically, right? There's only going to be one Michael Jordan ever. There's only going to be one Kobe Bryant ever. One of the biggest struggles that LeBron James is having is wanting that title of greatest player ever. And that's not a title that he can just say, I'm going to work for it. It has to be earned, and it's subjective when you really think about that. You have that philosophy of, I need to accomplish this goal. Sometimes most of the time, you're going to let yourself down. But if you just show up every day with the idea to get better, sometimes that old goal that you wanted to accomplish, you just pass by it without ever noticing. And that's what I want to get to with, is that a growth mindset will allow kids to do that. It'll allow them to sometimes pass a goal they didn't realize, and it just passed right by them, and they didn't know that they just did it. right? That goes into the types of leadership that you have as well, right? You're the type of leader that nurtures growth, that nurtures intrinsic motivation. Then you're going to have that growth mindset. That's going to make you a transformational leader. That's going to be someone that inspires someone else to get better just for the sake of getting better. Right? When there's intrinsic motivation, meaning intrinsic motivation, meaning that they want to get better just for the sake of getting better, and they love what they do. They want to be there. Right? A transformational leadership is also one of the bigger things that I've studied in my 7 years doing my doctorate and all this kind of stuff in performance psychology. Is the idea that we want to inspire to get better, not because there's a task to be accomplished, but I love what I do. I want to be here. This is fun. I enjoy this, and therefore I'm getting better at it every day with the mindset, the growth mindset of getting better. A transformational leader can inspire that kind of stuff. If you're not that type of leader, if you're about, I want to win and I want our team to get to the championship and we need to do this, we need to score this many points, that makes you transactional. Transactional means that you just need to do this by any means necessary. We need to win this game by any means necessary. And when you hear the by any means necessary, or the whatever it takes kind of mentality that some coaches have, that doesn't inspire kids to get better necessarily. It can for some, right? It's not, this is not, right? None of this stuff is absolute. But the win at all costs kind of mentality can get kids to want to cut corners, right? Maybe take supplements they shouldn't be taking. Maybe be cutting corners, maybe cheating, maybe playing dirty, right? Right. Let's injure, let's knock the crap out of their best running back so that we don't have to deal with them and we can beat their team. If you have that type of mentality as a coach, you're in the wrong business. If I'm going to lose to somebody, I want to lose to them at their best. I don't want to win because they weren't at their best. That takes away from the win. That takes away from success. That wasn't really success. And some people are okay with it because they might get paid one day, but you know, there's only 32 teams in the NBA. So there's only so many coaches that are going to get that paid, right? So what kind of coaching philosophy are you going to take, right? Are we going to forget about 98% of the kids we coach because we want to care about that 2% that might make it professionally one day? That, mind you, 2% still seems very high, right? Transformational leadership, another topic that I'll probably do another video on one day to get more in depth about. With your transformational leadership, the type of climate that you foster in your practices and in your games and just in general, in maybe if you're a leader in any type of business or whatever type of climate you foster, right? The motivational climate is important. And here you're going to see that there's two types, right? There's mastery orientation and there's ego involving performance orientation. So the climate of mastery orientation, hard work, trying hard, skill improvement, and contributions by all members are emphasized. Right. So the idea really is there's one of let's give our best, let's go at it, let's get better. And there's another one that's saying, here's the task that we need to accomplish today, just get it done. Just get it done. Right. So you tell the kids, I need you to run, 10 times back and forth on the football field. You're going to have those kids that are going to run 10 times back and forth on the football field. You didn't say how fast, you didn't say anything in particular. Even if you do, they're going to find a way to cut a corner. They're going to slow down, they're going to speed up. They're not going to approach of getting better. They're going to have the approach of, I just need to. Getting stuff done doesn't make you better. Working to get better. The old adage of practice makes you perfect is absolutely not true. Right? We can't say that anymore because it's absolutely not true. Showing up to practice does not make you perfect. working as hard as you can every single day, even if it's to improve with the right motivational climate, it's still not going to make you perfect. It will make you better though, if you have the right mindset. So if you notice that a lot of these things are like these core principles, the growth mindset, transformational leadership, motivational climate, they're all starting to feed into each other, right? So how do we get these two things, or these three things really, to fit into one little bubble with our coaching philosophy, right? We don't want to nurture those relationships, right? So by nurturing the relationships, I'm talking about being a transformational leader. Then you're nurturing the relationship between you and the athlete by inspiring them, right? If you're a transformational leader, then you're inspiration. Better because they want to get better now, because some goal needs to be accomplished or some game needs to be won, but they want to be inspired. Managing their stress, right? And the idea of being a transformational leader, having a growth mindset, having the right motivational climate, one of the things that you need to really think about when it comes to this managing their stress, that sometimes in sports, like, it just doesn't go right. You just have a bad day. You just have a bad game. Law of averages say if you're a 50% shooter and you shot 40% today, maybe one day you're going to shoot 60% to bring that average back down. You might shoot a bunch of 51%. Right? But the idea is that you want to improve, right? So being able to handle bad situations has to be practiced as well. Because in your coaching philosophy, the idea of a coach yelling and berating a kid at practice is like, well, I'm being tough on you because that world is not easy, blah, 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 stuff like that. That kind of just grinds my gears sometimes. But you can't be the stress. You let the sport be the stress, life be the stress, right? And then you figure out how to handle those stresses. You teach them how to handle it. Don't be the stress themselves. Don't be the coach that through fear, right? I want to make sure that I do my best today because I want. And then there's the kid that says, we need to keep working hard. That doesn't make it right. If a kid is doing something because they fear you, they're not there for any kind of motivational climate or growth mindset that says that they're going to be working. Because all it takes is for you to leave, they can finally be themselves, that anxiety and that because you're gone. Right? We want to teach kids to do the right thing when no one's around. We don't want them to do the right things yelling in their face. We want them to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. I want to work hard because working hard. I want to work smart because working smart is the right thing to do. I want to work hard because I want to get better. I want to improve because I love the sport. I just love working hard. I love pushing the limits. That's what we want in our kids. Not how coach is going to yell at me. He's going to make us run. That's where you lose the kids. And that's where your coaching philosophy needs to come in. Because there's going to be those coaches that are the yellers, that are the yellers and the screamers, and very structured and very strict about them. And there's nothing wrong with being that coach, right? The yelling part depends on what you're yelling. So the language is important, right? I've yelled at kids too, right? And it would involve more like, I believe in you more than you believe in yourself. And until we get to that part where you believe in yourself as much as I believe in you, then we're on the right path. That doesn't seem like something that we would yell. But one of my latest rants with a kid. Someone needs to push them sometimes, right? There needs to be sometimes some extrinsic motivation involved, and then you wean that off and it becomes intrinsic. But it needs to be the idea of growth, the idea of inspiration instead of fear, and the idea of what kind of motivation am I seeking for this climate. Once we get into those types of things, you can start moving your philosophy around, and your philosophy will always change. Your philosophy will always include a bunch of core principles. It could be these, it could be different things. It could be, I want them to be better at sports. One of the ones that I always had under my list of coaching philosophies is my goal at the end of the season is that you learned enough about the sport that your little brother and sister, some of the drills, right? That was kind of one of my philosophies. It's not on here, right? And that's personal. That's where you develop your own philosophy, right? And I really just wanted to touch on those two guys. And if you have any questions, put any of the questions you have in the chat, or not in the in the chat below. Please like the video, subscribe if you want, and I appreciate you watching, guys. Have a good one.